Today is February 23rd. Spring training games are underway. It is so refreshing. It's baseball season, guys. We're talking pitching and more tonight. Today, it's the Bridges to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridges to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake? There's a lot of screens. I'm watching the game. I'm doing a podcast. There's a lot of screens here.
I'm like, what is he doing? What's up, man?
Oh, boy.
Dude, it's so good to just see baseball on TV. Like,
I know it.
The Buccos are on. The sun is shining. Not here. 46 and pouring down rain here. But there, looks great.
I got my blinds open. It's usually dark in my background. The blinds open. The sun's shining through.
Hey, day games, day pods. Let's go.
There's also a lot of snow on the ground out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey,
Makes it extra bright sometimes.
We are early today. We're very early today.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm getting on an airplane tonight, and I'm going down there for these games. I'm going to get down there in the sun. Skeens tomorrow in Clearwater. I'll be there for that. Jared Jones Tuesday, Lecom, I'll be there. Be there Wednesday as well. And then I'll be coming back on Thursday. I get to see 3 games.
Yeah.
So loving that. Looking forward to it. Getting down there in the sun and not so cold. Not feel like I have to wear a hoodie every second of the day or more. So, Katie saying, look how bright your office is. We talk about it. We talk about, because my background's always super dark, but it's not now because we do night pods, and here we are. With the blinds open doing a day pod. I mean, it's kind of washed out a little bit back there, to be honest with you. It's a little too bright.
Yeah. Hilarious.
So, Miles says, Yins ain't got a lot of snow. Come up to Erie and see some real snow. That's true. I'm not going to argue that. I'm sure that's real snow there. So,
yeah.
Yep. Jake, you do not have snow.
I do not. It's just a lot of rain.
A lot of rain right now.
A lot of rain today.
Yeah, hopefully rain doesn't put a damper on things on Monday in Clearwater. Bubba Chandler taking the mound today. So if you're not watching the game, don't turn us off, but
we're watching it too.
We're watching it too. You're going to see our eyes drift. We're going to see a lot of the side of our face today. I did bring it up here so I don't have to do this, but it's on both places.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make sure that I'm watching, but Bubba Chandler pumping 97 right there.
Yeah.
It's feeling good. We're going to talk about his chances of making this team out of spring training today. And we're going to talk about a lot of other pitching stuff too. But games are underway. And we talked about that. You had DJ Stewart hit a home run yesterday. Matt Gorski had 2, including a grand slam. And of course, you know, we're learning, like, we're watching these players. They're learning how to get kind of into, like, hitters are looking for timing, pitchers are looking for location. You're starting to get, you know, broadcasters are trying to get back into the groove of things, interviews, the whole thing, right? Umpires are a little bit missing here and there. We've got the challenge system, which, you know, so far is going all right, but there, you know, you're going to see more this time. But not only that, but, you know, we have to work on our fan watching the game stuff sometimes too. We see an error and we get mad. No, don't get mad. It's spring training. We see a home run and we get really excited. We can calm down just a little bit. The wind blows down there and, you know, guys are amped up to do this and that. And you know, so I think sometimes our lens also needs a little bit of focusing. This is spring training. So this is what I say. Get excited about the home runs. Don't tell yourself not to, but understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that Matt Gorski's hitting 30 homers this year in the show.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to pick one spot of what you were just saying, and I'm going to pick on it 1 second.
Yeah.
The fandom of watching the game, I will say that we've already had a fan in mid-season form earlier today. The back pick, Pickle!
I did hear that. I did.
Oh,
Heard it on the
hilarious.
broadcast.
Fans, I love it. I love hearing stuff like that, especially spring training games, because there's not as many people there, so you hear all that.
Right.
Just fun. It just makes it fun.
Yeah. You're going to see errors, though. Fielders,
Yes.
specifically infielders, they're going to make errors. This is spring training. That they're seeing their first full speed ground balls, and it's footwork and it's all that stuff. So, Miles said he did hit one so hard it would have been out of the park into the wind. Dude, he hit both of them. The one in particular towards center field was an absolute bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the thing is too about the home runs, it's not just wind either, right? A lot of times, sorry, it's just going to be a fun one because I'm reacting a little bit to the game too. Doug says Bubba at 98 there. So, yeah, it's not only, I'm going to lose my train of thought now so many times today. This is going to be,
listen,
we got it. Jake said before, hey, you're probably going to lose something when you see something. Let you just be okay with it.
Yep,
We're watching the game. Everybody's watching the game. So yeah, I don't remember where I was at. So I was hoping you were listening to me, but you probably weren't. You were just watching.
I was watching the.
You're just like, I'm just going to chime in when I want, when there's a play going on. I mean,
that was. There was almost a collision at spring. I'm like, no. With Key Bryan.
Yeah, it's not just the wind that aids these home runs in spring training, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just a pitcher working on something, right?
Yeah.
And so if you got a pitcher out there who's just trying to throw a get me over fastball, or he's working on a pitch and he's thrown it to you 3 times and you understand, well, he's probably going to throw it again. There's a lot of things like that kind of happen at spring training. Or you got a guy out there who's like, hey, I'm not just going to throw my good stuff. Even if it wasn't, he threw it 3 times in a row. It just might not be as good stuff. So I think in general, I think that there are some things that happen at spring training that if you're a fan of a guy and you want to, like in Matt Gorski in particular, since that's where we brought up, and he's hitting the ball out, it really means that he's taking advantage of mistakes. And that's a good thing still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just, it's just also hard. You want to see, okay, but what does he do when the pitcher executes, right? Yeah. And so there's just more to see than that.
Yeah, it's one of those things you definitely get excited about it. You definitely get, I guess excited is the correct word. You get excited about it, but sometimes we got to take it and be like, okay, but good to see he's doing good things. Let's hope he can continue it into like the real competitiveness.
Right. And you see some of that, season. Right? And you see that, what was it, Henry Davis, that was basically like, oh, I was making sure I was doing good things, with this one or that one. And is it Henry Davis? You say he got the hit that was like not.
He said that was the one. I think he said it was like the one swing he wasn't happy with.
Yeah.
But the ball fell, and that's baseball.
Yeah.
I got jammed, but it landed over
in the
first
regular
baseman's
season.
Head, so
right. In the regular season, you take every hit you get, right? In the spring training, it's less about that. It's like a pitcher. Hey, I really like the execution of that slider. Which one? The one he hit the double on. But I really liked it. That's a good pitch. That's going to get more outs than it's going to get doubles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, there's a lot of things like that. The hitters might be more excited about 2-line drives that they hit than the bloop over the first baseman's head, because the 2-line drives, they know they're on it. The thing about spring training is you want to see all the signs that things will be good. And how many times are you going to bring up Kevin Newman hitting 600 something, you know what I mean? And then, but what it was a lot of luck. What it was a lot of balls falling that you're not hitting well. And that doesn't always translate to the season. It didn't for Newman that year. You know what I mean? And we've seen other guys who have done similar things where they've had really good springs. Henry Davis last year.
Mm-hmm.
Really good spring. You came into the regular season and it was a struggle. And it wasn't until the regular season that I remember I did a deep dive into it and I was like, what's the deal? Well, he wasn't hitting the fastball. And then I went back to spring training and he wasn't hitting the fastball in spring training either. All of his damage was being done on off-speed pitches. So the signs were all there. And you would imagine that even though as a fan, we were really excited about what we were seeing from Davis last spring, there's a chance the team was still already concerned about the fastball.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at results. They're looking at what did you do? What did you do with the whole deal?
Yeah, I think of that word. I think what you're looking for is they're looking for something that's going to keep them consistent throughout 162. They're not looking for results that help you in 20 games. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You hit the line drive, you're on it. That ball, not that exact hit's going to fall more often than not, but squaring balls up is more important than getting a duck fart over second.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're out. You know,
those are important. They count for things.
Well, but they count in the regular season. That's the point, though. They kind of don't count. You know what I mean? In spring training. So if all you're getting is those, then you're saying like, okay, well, you haven't really shown us anything.
Exactly.
And so that's this guy at 400, this guy at 200. Yeah, but this guy line drives, and that guy got lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This guy's 200 will even out, whereas this guy's 400 is going to drastically fall off.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. So it's not necessarily like, oh, who cares? It's a home run in the spring training. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
No, he still hit the ball hard.
Yeah. He
still did damage on a pitch that he should have done damage on. Mm-hmm. And in day one, there's something to be said about that. You know, we talk about that kind of stuff all the time too. So no, I mean, it's good to be excited. It's not, you just have to temper it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the errors. So, I mean, here's when home runs and errors mean a lot more, Jake. When the same person has a lot of them.
Sure.
In spring training, right? If you see the same guy make error after error after error, you start to say, all right, I'm concerned now because the quantity of it, the quality doesn't matter to me. It's the quantity. If there's a lot of them, all right, let's clean it up. And the same thing with home runs. If there's a lot of home runs by a guy, that means he's consistently hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
And it's not often those are always like, oh, well, every one of them was wind related. Probably not. I mean, you think about Cruz last year, like there was like 2 or 3 of those that maybe you could say like, yeah, but those were maybe a little like Florida home runs. The rest of them were just mashed. You know what I mean? So those ones are the ones that
Same
you're saying.
With Reynolds.
Let's hang on those.
Remember when we were down there, he hit that one that was up on top of the building in center field. Like, that's a bomb.
Right. Excited, man. Excited for all this. Excited to see how it all goes. I'm pumped to be down there. Let's talk pitching, Jake. While you were gone from the podcast, the Pirates signed Andrew Heaney, and I had a lot to say about that. If you missed Thursday, Friday's show, go back and catch up with that. We talked a lot about Andrew Heaney and what we can expect from him, and really where he might fit into this rotation, depending on how much they want to overthink it and whatever. What are your thoughts? That since I've shared all mine, what are your thoughts? Which you have a few days to kind of think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a veteran lefty for our rotation. It's somebody who has a skin in the game. He's won. It's just it's a good pivot. I think, when you're looking at, you mentioned in the show how they pivoted from Q and went to Heaney right away rather than up in the ante, and I think that's important. to the signing. And listen, it's $5 million. Like, you get a quality veteran arm. I'm not saying he's a stud. It's a quality veteran arm, though, for sure. For $5 million, like, that's hard to come by. I like the move. I don't think that they'll split the lefties up like you were talking about. I look for it to be in whatever order the Pirates choose: Skeens, Keller, and Jones, and then Heaney, Falter. Whatever order they choose to throw them in, I don't really care, because I feel like we got 4.5 solid starters.
Yeah.
I like, you got your front four, and then Falter's kind of I like Falter. I like the way he pitches.
So 5.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the picking apart and the art of pitching that Falter, but if a little bit goes wrong, it can go south quick. I think we've noticed, if he loses that extension, or if he's not locating perfectly, he's very hittable. But I like watching him pitch. I like what he brings to the table. I think it's 5 solid starters.
Yeah. With that said, now we also get news that Karma Majinski is trying to stretch out to be a starter. And so you start hearing, Majinski's going to be a starter. We talked about Ferguson is possibly trying to stretch out and getting an opportunity to start games. Oviedo was, Sherrington said earlier today that Oviedo was not ruled out from being on this opening day roster, which I thought was really interesting, because I thought this was basically, he's not pitched to hitters. I mean, I said as much on Thursday, like, he's probably not there, and he's not going to be there. But Sherrington was like, no. Now, some of that could be Ben Sherrington. You got to understand that when these guys get behind a mic and they're doing the interview and they're trying to go down this path of explaining what they are, there was questions about, are you focused on the group you have here, or are you trying to bring in a new guy, right? And of course, he's going to say mostly focused on the group here. And why do you say that? Maybe because it's true. Maybe because you don't want to show your cards to somebody that you are working for a trade through. But also, probably most importantly, you want, if those players see that interview, you want them to see that you have confidence in them. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think that absolutely goes a long way for these guys. Now, I don't think they're going and they're watching these, like, they're not. But if they do, if they're trying to see what is going on, then that's something that's going to be there. And I think of that stuff, and I think that they're trying to make those statements. And so, maybe for the Oviedo thing, it is the same thing. Maybe it's, hey, we want him pitching to make a spot, or to earn a spot here. We don't want him shutting it down, saying, all right, I'm starting slow, so I'm just gonna chill and start slow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways. Yeah, Santana up. He's throwing right now. I mean, I should say at the time of recording, for those of you who are catching up on this later. But yeah, it's I think about that for Oviedo, and the fact that we believe we have 2 or 3 guys that could be options in the rotation that could make their debuts. Everybody's going to mute us now because Key Brian Hayes is doing an interview. And we know we definitely cannot play the audio of that on this show.
Yeah.
That is not something that we're allowed to do. So if he says anything really interesting and you're not listening to us right now and him, pop it in the chat so that we can look at those quotes of things that Key's saying. But anyway, if we're talking about guys like Bubba Chandler, Braxton Ashcraft, and I mean, Mike Burrows, did Mike Burrows made his debut, right? He came in and made his debut last year. So he's a guy that could contribute, but not the debut. And then obviously Thomas Harrington, the other one that we think could have a shot to make a debut this year in the rotation. when you're looking at all those guys, I don't know how you have room for Mlodzinski or Ferguson, first off. But Oviedo, I could have seen being, I mean, I knew that he wasn't going to go through 200 innings. Probably not even 175. You know what I mean? So if he's going to be shut down.
I think they've actually said that they want him around 80.
Oh, really? So they're
80
not
to 100.
Okay. So I was thinking maybe 1 to 120, but I wasn't really sure where they were going to go with that. Now, so 80, that would even be like, hey, you're pitching for so long and then we're transitioning you to the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be starting the season and then somebody else jumping in that's tearing up, like a Bubba Chandler, maybe coming up in May, late May, something like that. And then shove Oviedo to that long man 2 innings at a time type thing. Because that's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder in midseason to go from bullpen to starter than it is to go from starter to bullpen, right? And so, that's something that I kind of thought might have been a path for him. But when you bring in Heaney, I think that changes a lot of things.
Yeah. To go back to where you started this at with the Mlodzinski stuff, it's interesting to me that he might, I mean, look at the pitcher group over here, starters over here, and think, I got a shot. Because, I mean, I get Mlodzinski's good, and he can, I think you heard Henry Davis talk about it. He shapes his pitches really well. He makes the ball move. But, like, honestly, I'd rather just be like let's just come out and be a dominant relief guy and pitch. He's going to be in the major leagues. He's not going to break camp as a starter in the big leagues. So he's not going to break camp as a starter in AAA. We need him in Pittsburgh, and I think they've made him aware of that. He's made them aware. They've made him aware. He wants to do what he needs to help the team win, but at the same time, he wants to be a starter. They're like, yeah, we'll stretch you out to 2 or 3 innings and see where it goes. But if we need you in the bullpen, and he's fine with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he ends up, is in the bullpen again. Because Oviedo has the option. Like he's a potential start in AAA as a starter. Whereas I don't see Mlodzinski being in AAA as a starter.
Right. Yeah, I could see that too. It would be interesting to see how that shapes up and see who gets those last couple spots. I'm with you. I think Mlodzinski, if he's throwing well, he's in the show. And they're just basically going to say, hey, we're going with this group as a starter. I think that's kind of understood right now. I think they've only said that they're stretching him out for 3 innings. And if that's the case, he's obviously not a starter. But could he open for somebody in a game and throw a couple of innings, get through the lineup once, and then turn it over back to the starter to start a fresh inning and go twice through the lineup? You know what I mean? I think that's a lot of times what they're focused on doing. So that could be an option for Mlodzinski or Ferguson going into this season. I feel like that would be another way to get them in to do something like that, is get me through the lineup once, then we're going to turn it over to the starter to get through the lineup 2 more times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's good use. It looks like Mlodzinski could possibly be that first guy out of the bullpen instead of pushing him to what I thought would be like a 7th inning role. Probably going to be somebody who is that first guy out. A lot like what we saw from Luis Ortiz, right? Let's get Ortiz out there. Let's get it done. Plus an inning, maybe 2, depending on how well it's going. And then you save that back end. And if you have him and Oviedo doing that same role to start the season, it's kind of hard not to like what you see there if that's what they're going to do with Oviedo. If they're going to limit him to 80 innings, man, I don't know. You could. I think it'd be hard to put him in the bullpen to start and then expect him to actually get a run of starting some games too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You talking Oviedo getting the starter a string of games? Is that?
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah. Sorry, Thought you said Majinski. I wasn't sure which one you were talking about. Yeah, I can definitely see him getting a stretch of starts and then going to the bullpen, or going to the bullpen and then getting a stretch of like 4 inning starts.
Yeah, I feel like they could just continue to do work in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just continue to get ready.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to go back, right? Just to go back on that. Majinski started 22 games in 2022. It hasn't been that long, right? Now,
Right.
granted, that was Double-A. I think Miles made a comment here. Carmen looks more polished as a starter based on Double-A starts that he watched in person. Harrington did not leave me with an impression of... This is really... Similarly, Harrington did not leave me with an impression of being an MLB starter. I think you swapped those guys. That's really interesting take right there. Really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think Thomas Harrington is everything that an MLB starter is. I'm really high on Thomas Harrington. I don't think he's got the
like him a
Skeens
lot.
Bubba Chandler ceiling.
No.
But I think he's got a better floor than someone like Jarrett Jones. You know what I mean? I just he knows how to pitch. He seems to be very polished very early in his career. It's all a matter of for him. I think it's just a matter of can it be dominant?
Yeah.
But you're essentially just going through the motions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's very meticulous. Like, I remember last year in spring training, we saw him go out on an outing and he goes right to the iPad in the bullpen, watches something, then gets on the mound and finishes up, focusing on whatever he saw in the game. Like,
Yeah,
he's a student. He's a smart dude.
for sure.
Yeah, I really like him.
I think last year in spring training, getting to see him and the way that he worked in the bullpen, went out and pitched and came back like that. And you know, what you were talking about. I think there was a couple things I really saw from him last year that were really impressive to me. The athleticism was one of them. I expected less, you know what I mean? There's a lot of talk about how he doesn't have the high end velo, and we're watching him hit 95, 94, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, if that's his top end, he's still fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's going to live around 91, 92, but if he can top end at 95, that's enough to get something over somebody. And so
there's a lot of pitchers that can sit there and be really good.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. I feel like as a pitcher, I think he's complete in that way a lot earlier. And the location for a lot of these guys is the last thing. And I feel like it's already there for him. Right.
Yeah.
Now we haven't watched a ton of games, but what I've seen, Miles says that he hasn't seen his games in AAA. I actually was at a game in Columbus in AAA where he was 5 no-hit innings and this maybe 6 no-hit innings, or maybe he gave up a hit with 2 outs in the 6th, whatever it was. Fantastic start. And it seemed like he was kind of the way that you thought he was going to be. He would pitch to a lot of soft contact and whatever, but it seemed like every inning ended with a strikeout. There was one inning that had 2 strikeouts, and then the rest of his strikeouts were the third out of every inning. And so that was something where it was like, all right, let's get out of this thing. You know what I mean? And he was doing that. And then he got into when he gave up a couple hits or whatever and got into a bit of a jam, which, it was like 2 runners on. It was the strikeout that came out and got him out of it. And I think he went 6. And so he gave up hits in the 6th because he went 6 and struck out 7 or something like that. I forget what it was. But it was something along those lines. And you could see that the stuff was there that day. At least it was no hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was perfect through 5, I think. Man, I'm struggling here.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy that we saw a lot of out of last spring, and then he just continued it throughout the season and throughout his journey. Got Matt Gorski up again. He hit his 3rd home run in the spring right now.
He's on Ellie De La Cruz path here. Did you see Ellie yesterday? First 2 at bats of his spring training, one left-handed 450, one right-handed gone. That's it. Day's over.
Day's over.
What else do you want me to do,
That'll
Coach?
do, Pig. That'll do.
So, yeah.
He struck out.
He struck out. I have a feeling Matt Gorcey is going to be a lot of one of those 2 things. He has been.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's there. So, yeah. So let's go back to Mlodzinski, because there was a couple things that I thought was important to bring up as far as that goes. We've seen it a lot. You and I have commented on it a lot this offseason. The number of relief pitchers who are transitioning to starting pitchers. This is why Ferguson has been given the nod that he's been given, and so on. This isn't surprising to me, and it sounds like they've had an open conversation about this ongoing.
Yeah.
Right? That this has never stopped. His desire to start has never stopped, but his willingness to do whatever the team needs is also there. And I thought it was really important what Sherrington said to him. When he said in the conversation, he said, we have a lot of things. We have a lot of data to prove that guys can pitch out of the bullpen for some time and then transition back to starting pitchers. And the fact that that's your thing, like, let's keep talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this moving you to the bullpen is only because I feel like you can impact right now.
Yeah.
And if that's still true, if that's not still true, I don't know what we're looking at. Like, it's still true. He's still going to be out of the bullpen. He's not really, I mean, he's what, 2 years in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at 2 years of service time.
This will be his 3rd.
Not even really, because of the time that he spent down. We gotta get, let me get Ethan's spreadsheet out here, because it's not even that much. No, 1.087. He's got a long way to go as far as like team control, or let's say this, as far as until you get to free agency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's keep this 3 innings. It feels like 3 innings is going to be what they're going to go with right now. So he's capable of throwing 3 innings. And then, next year, you're going to look at this staff and say, I get it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
there's a couple ways to go about this. You could say, oh, well, next year we're looking at that and we need this or that. And you say, well, we've got Carmen Mlodzinski that we could add to this trade, who is stretched out to be more of a starter moving forward. You know what I mean? So at the end of next year, maybe he's still doing 3 innings. At the end of next year, you can say, well, we'll add him in, and he's, he wants an opportunity to start. If you guys can give him an opportunity to start, we can add him to the trade. And if his numbers are good out of the bullpen, he's going to earn that, and he's going to make a trade happen. And other than that, like, he's 26, and so he's still he's on the other side of 30 by the time he reaches free agency.
Yeah, we just saw this with a familiar face, Clay Holmes. He's getting a chance to start in New York.
Yeah,
and he's been a reliever his whole pretty much. I don't think he started any games for us.
I don't think so.
In the majors?
Yeah, in the majors, right. Yeah, obviously in the minor leagues he did, but
yeah,
I don't think so. And it's, I don't want to just say it like, I'm trying to avoid saying, Jake, this is about money. He could be a dominant reliever, right? I mean, what was his ERA in 23? 350, 391 last year. If he takes another step forward and gets closer down to 3 or ticks under 3, you're talking about a dominant reliever for what he is, middle reliever. He could work his way to the back end. Sounds like that's not part of his interest. I think he'd much rather maybe work out a middle relief for a minute. Only because if his end goal is to go to the free agent block as a starter, then it closing games doesn't make a huge deal. But if he works his way to be more of a consistent and shows a little bit of dominance out of the bullpen, he will get an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bring the same one up, but Clay Holmes was closing games for the Yankees, lost his closer job, and then signs a free agent deal as a starter.
Right. And there's a lot of this, Jake, that if he's putting up good numbers, and who knows where arbitration takes it, but you go into the free agent market as a reliever, possible back end middle reliever. You're getting $5 million, $6 million, $8 million maybe to top, you know what I mean, from where we think he could be, around $8 million as a, late inning reliever. Still not a closer, but a late inning reliever. He goes to and that's being like around a 250 to 350 pitcher out of the bullpen, ERA wise, right?
Yeah.
You go to the starting rotation, and let's say that makes you a little less of a pitcher and you're more like a 350 to 4. You're still $15 million right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just anywhere from 12 to 15.
So maybe your first year going as a starter, maybe it's closer to 10 to 12, right? And then if it's your second year, 12 to 15, just to say like, I'll pitch somewhere around a 410. Okay, here's $15 million. This is a business decision for him. He still wants to be a starter. That's going to maximize his, his gains down the line.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that.
No.
And it's not like I'm saying, oh, so he's selfish. No, that's not it. Like this makes sense. And he's gone about it like a pro.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that goes a long way.
And to have the open conversations back and forth and to be willing to do what needs to be done, but at the same time, like if you're a jerk about it, the organization doesn't want to work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to talk Rafi Devers? You want to talk Gleyber Torres?
Ooh.
You want to talk position change guys? This was one of the topics that we were going to talk about. If nothing else doesn't come up. And then you got guys like Brian Reynolds where it's like, oh, maybe he'll play first. Oh, hey, you're moving to right field. And he's just like, cool.
Okay.
I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Or you got Jose Altuve moving to left field. Jose Altuve
wanted to move. I think he wanted to move to left field. He was adamant about it. Because
it would help the team.
Right.
And he's just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Cruz, the way that, he didn't want to move off shortstop. And the way that throughout the offseason, we've read all the stories about how much he's welcomed this and just dove into it head first. And so, yeah, I mean, it seems like Majinski's doing the same thing and has been doing the same thing since they moved him to the bullpen.
I love his kid's reaction. Did you hear that one?
O'Neal Cruz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where his kid's like, well, I guess I'm going to move to center field to be like dad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, I think this was a really interesting topic that came up was Majinski stretching out to be a starter in the midst of probably the strongest our starting rotation has been in Pittsburgh since I've been a fan of the Pirates, which has been my whole life. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's crazy, but that's the way it goes. Anything else on that? Anything else on Oviedo?
I'm just looking forward to Oviedo's full blown comeback, I guess. I've always said this since I've seen him. Dude, his lower half is enormous. He's a horse. I'm excited to see him back on the mound, full blown Johan Oviedo again, to see if he can get back to what he was right before he got injured. Because that was a good pitcher, man. And that just makes this rotation disgusting. It goes from one of the best to the best. If he's true form, Oviedo.
What do you mean one of the best to the best?
Our starting rotation.
Oh. Go ahead and elaborate. I'm just making sure I'm following here.
No, our starting rotation is one of the best because our front three is so good.
I got you.
Yeah,
You're
the whole
saying
starting
the whole
rotation.
rotation is already one of the best. Okay, I was like,
I mean,
I'm sitting here thinking
you-
like, well, who's one of the best? And then you're saying that Skeens is the best. Who's one of the best, and how does it go from that to that? Like, you
No,
see
the
where I
whole-
was like disconnecting
yeah,
there.
the
I was like,
whole
please elaborate.
rotation.
I don't understand what you're saying. So you're saying the rotation's one of the best in the league.
Yes.
And if Oviedo comes up and does his thing, it is the best. I mean, it could be because you think about if it is that you're looking at, this is the 2026 rotation.
Yeah.
That is the best, right? And then you're going Skeens, Jones, Keller, Bubba, Oviedo. At that point, like
Insane.
really strong going in, and still with Harrington not cracking that. You know what I mean? Which feels also crazy. And you still have Burrows and Ashcraft. I mean, the thing is that this team, and this is one of the things I said, I felt like this team was 9 deep in starters. And then you bring in Heaney and all of a sudden they're 10 deep. And now you're saying that Majinski's an option. You're, maybe Ferguson that could maybe get you 4 innings in a game. All of a sudden you're 12 deep. Like, this team is set up to be good. And no matter which way you go about it, if there are some injuries, if there's unfortunate injuries, we never really root for that. But there will be a guy to step up and to take innings and to still give this team a good chance to win because they're that deep in the rotation right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to have the same 5 guys throw every game. I mean, the Reds did it, 2013? It was unreal. It didn't get enough play. You know what I mean? How impressive that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, this team is set up rotation wise to be really good. And Oviedo's the interesting. Yeah. And Oviedo's the interesting one for me for this season because I would have expected to start off the season as a starter and then cut it back to reliever. And so we'll see how they handle that and how it goes moving forward.
Connor Griffin, a little base hit to give us the lead 2-1.
Yeah, got it through. Yeah. What do you think of Connor Griffin? I know there hasn't been a whole lot of game action like you're seeing it right now, but is this a guy you're watching for this year, or do you think it's just, hey, this is cool, you get the guy up here to give it a shot, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to do quite a bit to get here this year.
Well, I didn't even say that. Are you saying you think he could get here this year?
No.
I
mean, I would have to be a lot of dominoes falling into place.
That's not what I meant. I just meant as a prospect.
That's what I thought you were saying. Yeah, no, I'm definitely watching him and I'm definitely watching for him to climb up this year to wherever he can get to. That live AB that he just obliterated that ball. That's a good swing.
He's a big dude.
He is a big dude.
He's not built like, it's not like, well, let's see what this guy looks like when he grows into himself. Like, he's a man.
He's into himself. He reminds me of, like, build wise, he reminds me of like a Cal Ripken Jr. Like, just a big solid dude.
Down the road, do you see this guy playing shortstop, or do you see him moving out to the outfield? Very comfortable in the outfield. As a matter of fact, he's kind of said in some way or another that when he needs to clear his head, he goes and plays center field for a week to clear his head. So, like, it feels like there's a level of comfort in center field that shortstop, you don't get an opportunity to clear your head first off. So if you're struggling at the plate and you got to go out and ball out at shortstop, there's no break, right? That's why the best players play short, right?
Yeah.
And so for him to be that comfortable to go out into center field and not have to then worry about center field, to just say, all right, cruise control, let's be athletic, let's do my job, but clear my head from whatever at the plate.
It is interesting, though. I think his path would be to the major leagues would be at shortstop.
If it's going to be, in the next couple of years, I mean, there's a lot of ways that could go. If he's a stellar center fielder and playing center field, then sure. I mean, Cruz is only going to get bigger and older. So one of those two guys could play right field or left field or whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
That's not the, the thing is always if the bat plays.
The bat plays, they're going to find a spot for him. I do want to throw this out there. I mean, I just saw Tamar Johnson get it. Looks like he's got a lot less moving parts this year in his swing. He had that big load with his hands last year. Still has a little bit of it, but not quite as much. That's good.
At the state this team's in, I have a hard time seeing him without injuries push his way onto this roster this year as well.
Tamar?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
just with the way this is built, you've got Gonzalez, you've got Nick York that everybody is really high on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough there. Frazier's at the major league level right now. I don't know how desperate you have to be to then dip down that far.
Sure.
I feel like it's going to have to be one of those two guys, those first guys I mentioned, or I'm sorry, both of those two guys are going to have to be injured and out.
Yeah.
In order to make room for, I mean, take your time. Make sure you have all the stuff worked out before you have to be exposed to this. I'm a believer of that. So anything else you want to talk about? We may wrap it up here. Yes. There's like 10 more minutes, but if we've got it, then say it. If not, I don't mind getting out of here. I do still have to pack.
I get it. I just want to touch on, after his outing today, Mitch Keller comes out working on his changeup. I love it. I'm a changeup guy.
Yep.
Love hearing people say they got changeups and they're working. He threw it a few times, got a ground ball double play and a strikeout. So I'm looking forward to that pitch developing for Mitch because I think that could be a really big equalizer for him. Maybe toss the cutter once and for all. Because I think he did. I think he did leave a cutter up and right over the middle, and it got smacked for a base hit. But I love changeups, and I love when I get to see changeups that work. For a pitcher.
And there was a changeup, right? It just was barely thrown.
Right.
And so this is like let's use this more.
Yeah.
And make it a better pitch
on it. Yep.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of hitting backside right now by the Pirates. They're just kind of, putting the quarter in the merry-go-round for a minute and going out there, and it's now 5-1. This is another thing about spring training. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 10-5 game yesterday, and I mean, these results are hard to not get excited about in a way.
Yeah.
But you know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking forward to getting down there, Jake.
Baseball. Oh man, I'm excited for you. I wish I could be there.
I was gonna say, I wish that you were going down there again this year with me. We got to make sure that you prioritize this on your schedule for next year, so that you don't miss out. And
sure.
It's going to be a fun time. And next year, I will not settle for anything less than a week. And Katie and I have talked about a month. So I'm putting this out there on the internet for Katie to hear if she's still watching. I told her, no, I'm just kidding. It's obviously, we were like, what if we just went down there for a month? Just
stayed there the whole month.
Just stay there for a month. I said, we could just get a place down there and stay there for a month and go.
That'd be tough to do with the kids in school.
They would. We just pull them out and homeschool them. Get all the homework for that. Look, see, she's all in. I'm telling you, she will think about this rationally later.
I'll have a whole month to figure out what week I can come down.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're gonna wrap this thing up. I will say, Doug says, "How is the Sawinski watch? Any conclusions yet?" If you make a conclusion as a fan after he played 2 innings, 3 innings?
Yeah, 3 innings.
Calm down.
Two at bats, and let's just say Jack Sawinski still knows the strike zone very well.
Well, that's good though.
And failed.
That's good that Yeah, where was I going to go? That's good that
I'm
he's
sorry.
not just jumping out after the ball
Yeah.
early in counts like we saw. Like, be patient, sit and wait for your pitch, and so on. So, a lot of Mike Lang love on the broadcast today,
As there should be.
It's cool. I didn't get to say anything about it Thursday, but it just didn't. We went with the show and it didn't come up, and I meant to, so didn't get to. I don't watch hockey very often, but when we were kids, that's who we mimicked, right?
Yeah.
We always mimicked all of that stuff. So
yeah,
sad to hear that. Launchpad's in here. I don't think I've seen anything from you until now. So coming in at the end here, the Andrew Heaney signing is sneaky good. Might not be a big name splash, but it could. I mean, the more I look into this guy, the more I really like this move. I really do. And in typical Ben Cherington fashion, he's been trying to sign him for a couple of years. Yeah. I don't know why everybody they bring in that's like, hey, this might work out, is like, yeah, we've been trying to do this. Spencer Horwitz was like that, you know what I mean? And now Andrew Heaney.
What is taking you so long?
Tommy Pham was a guy that they said, he said, these guys have been on me for years.
I thought we weren't going to talk.
I know. It's just, that's part of this. It wasn't anything about him. It was about Ben. I need a clip just for
and
like
totally redeem yourself.
Yeah. All right, guys. We appreciate everybody who's watching live with us. Enjoy the rest of the game. And for anybody listening afterwards, it's baseball season, guys. We will not be doing our normal show time. And if you listen to this, on audio only, it won't be there Friday morning. I think we're going to do a Friday morning show. So as soon as we can get it up on audio, we will. But next show will be Friday. Tune in while you're working on
Friday.
That'll be the day. All right, guys. Let's go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck. Cannonball coming. And let's go Bucks.